Next, we take a very different look at the future for human health and longevity. Paul Solman, the NewsHour's economics correspondent, has been exploring the profound social and economic changes brought on by rapidly changing technology. Tonight, he checks in with an inventor and futurist who takes the concept of advances in the medical field even further. It's part of his ongoing reporting, making sense of financial news.
Earlier this year, we did several stories at a conference run by the futuristic California think tank Singularity University. The stories were about high-tech's prodigious promise for the future: dirt-cheap energy, sky-high crop yields, labor-free machinery. Tonight comes the kicker. Far longer, far healthier, conceivably even eternal life. Why would immortality be in economics rather than a science story? Because the basic aim of economics is to maximize well-being, the greatest good for the greatest number. And a longer, healthier life is the most unambiguous good there is, says Singularity's co-founder Ray Kurzweil. Skeptics notwithstanding.
You know, people say, oh, I don't want to live past 100. And I say, yeah, okay, I'd like to hear you say that when you're 100.
Assuming they'll be hale and hearty at 100, which Kurzweil emphatically does. In fact, he firmly believes that at age 100, he'll just be getting started.
I think I have a very good chance of making it through.
But when you say making it through, you mean essentially live forever.
Indefinitely. I mean, I can never talk to you and say, I've done it, I've lived forever. But the goal is to put that decision in our own hands rather than the metaphorical hands of fate.
Now, before you diss Ray Kurzweil's prediction that death will become an elective procedure, note that he's known for being ahead of the curve. This footage comes from the film about him, Transcendent Man.
My name is Raymond Kurzweil, and I'm from Queens, New York.
While still in high school, he was invited on TV's I've Got a Secret to show off the computer he'd programmed to compose music in the style of classical composers.
Raymond, how old are you?
I'm 17.
Do your parents know what you've been up to?
In his 20s, he invented a reading machine for the blind.
They've invented a machine that can make any book talk.
470 years ago.
His first customer was Stevie Wonder.
Obviously, it was a life changer.
Starting a lifelong friendship that led to the development of Kurzweil's second major invention, a musical synthesizer that sounded like real instruments.
Can y'all hear that bass drum there?
In short, a string of breakthroughs that boggle the human brain when you think of how primitive computer brains were back then. But computers had been getting more powerful fast, which got Kurzweil thinking ahead.
In 1981, I noticed this remarkable exponential curve, which was very smooth, and I extended that curve out to 2050. Now we're in 2012. It's 30 years later, and we're very much on that curve.
What Kurzweil had noticed, as illustrated in the Transcendent Man documentary, was that all information technologies progress exponentially, doubling in performance while decreasing in size and price. Double every year, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and so forth. And in just 3 decades, you've topped 1 billion.
This is several billion times more powerful per dollar than the computer I used when I was a student. It's 100,000 times smaller. We can create computers twice as powerful as they are today next year because we're using today's computers to create them.
While Kurzweil's brain is nothing to sneeze at, he thinks even he won't be able to compete with tomorrow's computers.
Artificial intelligence will reach human levels by around 2029. Follow that out further to, say, 2045, we will have multiplied the intelligence, the human biological machine intelligence of our civilization 1 billion-fold.
1 billion-fold from today?
Right. That's such a singular change that we borrow this metaphor from physics and call it a singularity, a profound disruptive change in human history. Our thinking will become a hybrid of biological and non-biological thinking.
But for the purposes of immortality, and therefore this story, so will our other bodily functions become a hybrid, insists Kurzweil, as humans and computers merge.
The electronics will be so small. And we will put computerized devices that are the size of blood cells inside our body to keep us healthy. A new biological virus comes out. These little nanobots could download new software to combat that new pathogen.
And so, immortality.
We'll get to a point 15 years from now where, according to my models, we'll be adding more than a year every year to your remaining life expectancy, where the sands of time are running in rather than running out, where your remaining life expectancy actually stretches out as time goes by.
Of course, as more time goes by, there will be more to remember. But Kurzweil says we'll have augmented brains to retain more of it.
That information defines your personality, your memories, your skills, and it really is information, and we ultimately will be able to capture that and actually recreate it. So then we'll back ourselves up. People 100 years from now will think it pretty amazing. People actually went through the day without backing up their mind file.
You mean back up your mind so that all the memories you had yesterday you'll have tomorrow?
It'll be there in case it gets damaged. So if you hit the proverbial bus and it damages part of your brain, you can recreate that.
And to make sure he's ready, in good shape for the tipping point, Ray Kurzweil has been following a rigorous health program for decades now, ever since being diagnosed with diabetes in his 30s.
Aging is not one process. There's many different things going on that cause us to age. I have a program that at least slows down each of these different processes. I'm constantly testing myself, hormone levels and nutrient levels and the usual things like cholesterol and C-reactive protein, and keeping things in what I consider to be optimal ranges.
His cholesterol, for example, has dropped from 280 to 100, thanks to a strict regimen of diet, exercise, statin drugs, and nutritional supplements. He takes about 150 pills a day. And then there are injections and IV drips for the more exotic substances.
I'll give you one example. In a baby, 90% of the cell membrane is made up of phosphatidylcholine. That substance is responsible for letting nutrients in, letting toxins out, keeping the cell supple. By the time you're 90 years old, the level of phosphatidylcholine you have will be less than 10% of what you had as a child.
So you're getting shots of this?
It's a IV. If you're aggressive, even baby boomers in their 60s can be in good shape when we get to these more powerful technologies. But you have to be aggressive. If you're oblivious to it, then it would be too late.
High-tech CEO Carl Bass, 55, is also part of Kurzweil's Singularity crowd, but a tad less optimistic.
I feel like I just missed out.
Just missed out. That's how I feel. I'm 67, and I think, my gosh, if I had only been born 10, 15, 20 years later.
I feel exactly the same way you do. I've become more optimistic about what's possible, even if a little bit longing about what I may not get to enjoy.
But wait, are there no true skeptics in the high-tech universe? What about co-mapper of the human genome and recent creator of a supposedly new form of life, Craig Venter?
How old are you?
65. I wouldn't mind getting to 100.
Are you regretful that you're going to miss the moment of immortality?
I don't think we're going to ever get there. I know a little bit more about biological reality. What I've argued, if you want to be immortal, do something useful in your lifetime.
Craig Venter is a brilliant and very innovative person, but in this instance, he's not appreciating exponential growth. You have to really think about it and calculate it out because it's not intuitive.
In the end, though, if Ray Kurzweil is correct, a key question. Should the dead eventually disappear, how would the world cope with an impossibly large number of the living? By colonizing space is one common high-tech answer. And we'll be covering that if the NewsHour would want yet another story about the future, with one proviso. To paraphrase my beloved grandmother, we should live so long.
If you're intrigued by Ray Kurzweil's ideas, we've posted more of his conversation online. He talked to Paul about artificial intelligence, technology's changing role in our lives, and what it means to be human.
Finally tonight, looking at the phenomenon of Wikipedia and the questions around it. We turn again to Hari Srinivasan.
Let me look that up on Wikipedia has become such a common phrase that it's hard to believe Wikipedia is just a little more than a decade old. In that time, the encyclopedic website has become the 5th most visited in the world, with more than 20 million entries worldwide and almost 500 million visitors a month. While Wikipedia has become an indispensable reference tool for some, its methods have been criticized in the world of academia and research. It also flexed its political muscle of late. In January, Wikipedia helped lead a virtual web blackout to protest